Ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, and welcome to a series of interviews with artists and companies who will be appearing at LiF 2024. These conversations are about their experiences, influences, recommendations, and we hope capture insight into folk about their work and their passion for improv. A big thank you to Iain and Dave from the Oickers, who will be performing at LiF with Fruit Smoothie. Their show starts at 1:45 p.m. on Saturday, the 20th of April at the Unity Theatre. Tickets are £7 or £6 for Creative Pool members and can be purchased online at www.unitytheatre.co.uk. You can check out their show and the rest of the festival lineup at www.liverpoolimprovfestival.com. You can follow the festival on our various social media channels, which are on the website. Thank you and enjoy. Hello and welcome to Dave and Iain from the Oickers, who we're going to be interviewing tonight. We briefly spoke beforehand, so there's no questions that are not prepared to answer. If we had a phone in, I'm sure there would be loads of things pinging in left, right, and centre, but we don't have that option. Maybe that's something that we will do next year. Anyway, kicking us off, I'm going to give you a couple of questions. These will just ease ourselves in. We'll see where the conversation takes us, and then we'll kind of look to wrap up in about 40 or so minutes time. Normally we do, and then I'll clip some stuff, and then it'll go out early next week. So, when did you first experience improv? This could be as participant in terms of taking workshops or as an audience member. What sort of what gave you the itch?
I'll let you go first, Dave.
Yeah, so first thing for me was I had a sort of a brief introduction in university to improv as one of the modules. It wasn't until about probably late 2010s when I went to a gig as an audience member over in Liverpool on Renshaw Street. I had a family member who was involved in a show, and that kind of piqued my interest in improv, and yeah, I've been kind of doing it ever since.
Okay, and when did you say that was?
So it was probably around about 2016, 2017, something like around about then.
Okay, and who was it? What was the show?
It was actually Emma Bird who.
Okay.
Emma Bird's one of Emma Bird's troops, and I had a sister who was involved in it as well. There was a few sort of flyers going about for Liverpool Comedy Improv, and that's kind of where I started.
Oh, okay, cool, excellent. And Iain?
So for me, I first encountered improv when I was 6, when I went to Theatre Club in Mould. I started going to weekly drama sessions there, and improv was used as a warm-up, and it was always my favourite thing. Like simple things like the freeze game and things like that. So it was just always kind of there, and I was like, oh, good. To me, they were just warm-ups at the time, and I looked forward to the warm-ups because that was my favourite thing, just being spontaneous, not really having sort of any rules to worry about or any lines to learn. And my passion for drama like sort of went into my early teens, and then I drifted into music. But that whole time while I was really focused on drama, it was very much, this is improv and it's just a warm-up. But I had also discovered Whose Line Is It Anyway? So I think I was about 10 when I first saw that, and I was like instantly obsessed. It used to be on Friday night, the old British version initially, before I discovered the American version as well. And I remember being about 14 and playing Whose Line Is It Anyway with my friends. I would get them together and be like, right, we're going to play. And I would take the time to make sure I watched how all the games worked, and I'd explain it to all my friends. And some of them had seen the show, so they kind of knew. And we would just have some fun playing. And then when I was 16, I went to sixth form college and studied performing arts. and there were elements of I focused on popular music, but I was able to dip into like drama and dance modules as well. And again, improv was kind of there, but it was there as a warm up technique. And then when all that finished, I sort of adulted for a bit and really focused on the music. And my passion for Whose Lines It Anyway continued to grow. But my experience of actually being able to do improv wasn't there. But then something I would do in the band was I would improvise songs. Normally, as a sound check, you'd go out a bit earlier. There's a bit of an audience. I'd just make up songs on the spot and entertain people. So it was kind of something I was doing musically. But then I properly got into improv. Start of 2020. I was watching Whose Lines It Anyway, sort of back to back, because at the time it had just come onto Amazon Prime, and I was like, oh yeah, this is amazing. All of these episodes. I just binge watched a loads, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I love this. This is something I can clearly do. Why aren't I doing it? There's got to be something around here. So I searched that very day, and Liverpool Comedy Improv were doing a session in Chester. So I contacted Emma Bird, and she was like, oh, we've got one coming up in Chester just this Friday, and there's one space left. I can put you down. I was like, amazing, I'll do that. I turned up, had an absolute blast. And then I went along to the Liverpool drop-in the next Monday. And the Saturday after that, there was like an all-day workshop thing, which I also went to. I went to a few more of the Mondays, and then lockdown hit. And in many ways, lockdown was incredible. And I just did improv all the time, like basically every day for a year. And I did I discussed this with Emma once, and I worked out, I did about 10 years worth of sort of improv in that year.
A very fine use of your time. I tried the online thing, and I'm not very good at reading people in terms of on camera. So I'm just like, I need to be in a room with people, and I found it really, I loved watching it, but taking part, I just really struggled. I just found it so difficult. So I kind of went, oh, I'm not doing that. But yeah, I dipped into loads of like shows. And you're not the only person who's kind of gone, actually, the pandemic was opportunity to immerse myself in in the pursuit of improv. I spoke with Simone yesterday, who is a Maltese artist, and she was saying that she got a chance to work just because of the situation with people from all over the world, and what an amazing experience it was. However difficult, actually something really positive came out of it for her, and it sounds like you as well. What band were you in, Ian?
My band was called the Iain Luke Experience.
Ah, okay.
My biggest claim to fame was a young Ed Sheeran was once our support act.
Oh, wow. How very impressive. Brilliant. Well, have you done any musical improv at all, Ian? Is that something that you're starting to pursue, or?
Yeah, I do love musical improv, and I've done it a fair few times at gigs and things now. The thing that I tend to do is I'll get someone out of the audience, I'll interview them, have a little chat with them, and then I'll sing a song all about them.
So are you guys going to go and see MC Hammersmith at the Philharmonic Rooms that's coming up soon?
Potentially, it all depends on life schedule.
Ah, okay. I've caught his show a couple of times in Edinburgh, and I was like, oh my God. So he's everyone I keep meeting kind of going, are you going to go see this? Obviously, we've got showstoppers coming into town, into Liverpool very soon as well. But MC Hammersmith, I think, is someone, if you haven't seen that style of freestyle rap, and how he works an audience, it's something that's well worth catching if you can.
I've heard him from outside a door, but I wasn't allowed in because the room was full to capacity. So I was able to just stand with my ear to the door and listen to the show.
Yeah, well, yeah, that also works. It paints 1,000 pictures. I mean, he seems to be everywhere on TikTok and all various social media. He does that all very well, but the live experience is something to behold. Okay, Dave, tell me about a moment of magic that you've either experienced as a participant, i.e., in a show or in a workshop, or as an audience member. A piece of magic where you just kind of go, wow, that'll stay with me forever.
Probably when we were kind of like as the Oickers, it's like we probably for me having the full team, because maybe like improv troops don't necessarily have the full team with them. Sometimes it's like, I think for us having the full team on one or two occasions was for me a magic, because it's like this is like, and it's like, we're obviously back from pandemic, doing all like live shows, and it was just great having all of us there and just being able to share the stage with each other. So that for me is absolutely great.
So,
Um,
you did Nottingham, is that right?
yeah,
Last year, is that right? How was that?
again, that was a great experience. Because we most of our gigs were kind of fairly local.
Hmm.
Like Liverpool, we're all Chester. Again, trying to go expand our horizons into like Nottingham, Leeds, wherever else we can go. So and and it was good. I would say it was a good audience. Well, again, that's probably another magic moment, having a receptive audience who are like really in tune with what you do, and that you go, that was a great moment.
So Sheffield, I went over to Sheffield to do a workshop and a panel last May, and there's a really big improv scene in Sheffield that Owen Scrivens is kind of, and along with a load of others, are kind of sort of doing over there. So Owen's over on Friday the 19th doing his show, but I know he's going to be around for the weekend, so it may well be worth kind of having a chat with him, because they have the Theatre Deli over there. Is a really nice theatre space, and they've got quite a lot of improv stuff happening there. So it might be worth kind of, if you're wanting to sort of spread your wings even further, is kind of Sheffield's a 2.5 hour drive. It's quite a pleasant drive, and they've got a really nice setup over there. There's a team called Roll With It, I think, that are based there as well, where they do sort of D&D inspired storytelling, improv. And I think Owen's based there. And there's a few other companies that I met there that were really cool. It was a really nice place to sort of go hang out for the day and meet a load of really nice folk. So, Iain, same question to you. A moment of magic that you've either witnessed as an audience member or participant in a workshop, or in a show.
Okay, so it's a real moment of magic, and it was when the Oickers were performing at a show a couple of years back in Flintshire for Flintshire Funny Bone, which I run with Seki from the Oickers. Did a big show where we had the Oickers performing. We had regulars from the Flintshire Funny Bone group performing, and we had two comedians performing as well. And I was the host, so I was like doing a bit of stand up in between as well. So it was just a really big special night. And at the end of that night, I ended up proposing to Seki. So it wasn't planned. It was a very much an improv moment. It just in the moment it just felt right. And I was just doing this little speech, and it just morphed into me asking Seki to marry me, and she said yes and.
Oh, well, that has to be the best answer to that question so far. Amazing. Oh, wow. Were you witness to that, Dave?
I was, yeah. It's
Oh.
um we were just like, we were on the high of doing all the show, and we were like sort of, I was with sitting next to San, one of our other members, and we are like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And it was then like, oh, I'm totally made up for both of them.
Oh. Oh, we should have done this on Valentine's Day. That would have been
The
perfect.
Oickers will be
I,
at your
I
wedding.
interviewed Kate McCabe on the morning of Valentine's. So we're both sat there with the cups of coffee and sort of talking about kind of various. It was for the lovers episode.
Ah.
We've now described it as.
Mhm.
Okay, so thinking about the show Fruit Smoothie that you're going to be bringing to us, just briefly, or briefly describe kind of what the experience is, what audiences might expect. I've sort of got an understanding of what you're going to be bringing, but I'm really interested in kind of how did it first come about? I know you've mentioned Emma a couple of times in terms of, was it something that she worked with you on, or did you get somebody in to work with, or how did it all come about?
Do you want to go, Dave?
Yeah, it was during lockdown. We were doing Zoom sessions like this, and Emma said doing an intermediate course, to which like myself, Ian, and everyone else who was on part of the Oickers were a part of, and it was actually one particular scene involving Ian and someone else that kind of got us our name, the Oickers. And I think we had about three blocked group sessions before eventually we felt collectively we could go on, form our group. And Emma was like really made up with the fact that we're all we're standing on our collective feet as a troupe. And so that's I think that's kind of as brief as I can that I can recall from our time. And it all started on Zoom.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'll just add to that a little bit. Just in so in terms of what we do, we're very much just short form, and we stay true to what we love with short form. We love quick fire games. We love puns. Things that a lot of people take for granted as sort of warm ups, or as, oh yeah, I started with short form and now I'm doing proper improv because I'm doing long form. We very much enjoy the silliness, the camaraderie of the short form, and that's what we bring. And as Dave said, yeah, we started on Zoom, and we're very much, we owe our name to Zoom, because not only did we meet doing online sessions together, which was also cool because it could bring us in from different places, and we still meet regularly on Zoom. So every other week we have our Oickers session online. So we're still very much an online troupe as well as in person. And our name, the Oickers, as Dave said, it came from a scene, and in that scene it came from a typo, because suggestions could be typed. So something got incorrectly typed, and then I basically, after that session, I was like, oh, that's our name. And then that whole thing, that's become like our whole branding. You can see I'm all dressed in yellow. This is my color currently for the Oickers. Dave's in his. We've got our fruity logo, the Oickers. So we kind of stand out when we're all together. And yeah, so it was Cherry Pickers. It got written down as Cherry Oickers. Mark Turpin and I did this whole scene about going to Fruit Oicking College. And yeah, like the whole fruit thing just took off from there. There's Stu Hughes, who is a member of the Oickers. He is great with like designing this kind of thing. So he sort of designed our logo, and we got the t-shirts. We even have mugs and things. So yeah, we're just sort of good, wholesome, fruity fun.
You need to be, you're part of the 5 a day, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Eat the rainbow, as they say, I think the term is now. No, I love all your marketing stuff. It's really, 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 really good. And I like the idea of the fruit smoothie. It's a sort of gift that keeps on giving, because you can kind of then have the pun it. There's loads of play off. As you said, you like puns. There's loads of play to be had in all of that. Happy accidents are really good. The discovery of something through a mistake that becomes something else is always, that means it's probably right. The gods of improv have looked down and gone, that is you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So I don't know. I kind of improv taught me to be more relaxed and to listen. You know, although I'm sure my partner would disagree, but I think I'm a much better listener than I ever was prior to doing improv. So, how has improv impacted your life in some way, shape, or form? Has it given you a sort of slightly different take on the world?
For me, particularly, about 5 years ago, oddly enough, during the pandemic, I discovered I'm on the autism spectrum, which for me, improv kind of impacts me in a way of allowing me to focus, whether it just be, say, like, for example, say we're doing character based, anything character based, or anything about trying to find the game of the scene. Because, like, if that wasn't the focus of a particular session, I'd be all over the place. Even before, even before I discovered my autism uh, diagnosis, if you want it, I would still love going to drop-ins in the lead up to my diagnosis as someone on the autism spectrum. It's helped me, it's helped me again, like with yourself. It's with the listening, be attentive to who I'm in the scene with, so so I can yes and that idea if I'm coming in as support, or coming in with an idea myself or something like that.
Yeah, I someone coined a phrase which I continue to use, which is listen with your eyes and ears, and I've become much more observant in terms of micro gesture. So I am getting better at sort of being able to kind of understand how someone is feeling, and certainly kind of now watching in a slightly different way and listening in a slightly different way has been massively helpful to me. Because some people would describe or used to describe me as quite blunt. But for me, I'm just saying what's on my mind, and I'm responding immediately. Now I've learned to sort of put a strategy in place where I just take a little brief moment and then talk that through before I respond. And as I've done more and more improv, that speeds up for me, so it doesn't look like I'm kind of being quiet with somebody and then responding. I've been able to speed that process up ever so slightly. So yeah, thanks, Dave. That's really interesting. How about you, Ian?
So for me, yeah, a few things. Improv has taught me to embrace failure and sort of fall upwards, and not be afraid. And I guess I never really have been as afraid of failure as perhaps some might be, but it's definitely taught me to embrace it more. And it's also one thing I've always said since I've discovered improv is before improv, I don't think I've ever really felt like I fitted in anywhere. I've always got on with people, but I've never really found my people. And it's the first time I actually feel like I belong somewhere. And just like simple things, like just in general life, I throw out puns and one liners all the time. They just spill out of my mouth. And in most environments, it's met with eye rolls and tuts and oh, he's at it again and little things like that. But in improv, it is embraced. People appreciate the puns and the one-liners, and it's celebrated. And it's little things like that that make me feel, oh yeah, I've found my place. And the Oickers are like a family to me now, and so improv has taught me that I have finally found like, the people that I need to be spending time with. It's obviously it's brought Seki into my life. That was a direct link to me being involved in improv, and it's taken me on a journey which I wouldn't have gone on before I found it. So little things like I host the Liverpool Comedy Improv Cast. That is directly because of me getting into improv. And I am a voice actor now, and that is directly because of me getting into improv, because it's really just teaching me to just go for the things that I love in life and not just be these little ideas that are in the back of my head, but actually those are things you can actually do. Like, someone's got to do those things. Why don't you do those things?
So your improv superpower has been, which didn't work in the real world, but now is the superpower you can unleash on stage.
Yes.
Yeah,
Really just yes anding.
yeah. Well, I love a good pun. I love wordplay. That is my go. That's the thing that tickles me most. My grandfather was always doing stuff like that. Was just like little, and he would be met by majority of my family with an eye roll, and I would just be absolutely keeled over, just going, "That's so clever, that's so funny." So, well, I am so looking forward to having you all join us at LiF. I think some of you, well, I spoke to you, Iain, last year on the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody had a chance to kind of come over and experience some stuff last year, but we've got a mad busy program this year, and we're really looking forward to hosting you, because in fact you are the only short formers who are with us. I don't consider short form, as most people do, sort of it's remarkable how many people applied. I think we had out of 79, we had only 3 short form things, which was, I was quite surprised, because a good short form team is something else. You know, it's so quick and it's so sharp, and it feels like you know, when you go for one of those taste menus and you get loads of like little tiny morsel things that you get to taste, but you get to taste loads of things all very quickly, and that's kind of why I kind of like the short form. It's something that I started out doing with Rob Hitchmo. I don't know if you know him. He's an improv guy who plays at the Comedy Store Players, and we started way back when in the old Casa. You know the Casa in town, the back. There's a bar on Hope Street, um,
Yeah.
and we did for about a year and a bit. We did a show called Monkey Lab, where we did sort of a version of theatre sports, which was loads of fun. And doing that every week live with a nice busy audience, you learn so much. There's a shorthand and how you can kind of go, oh, we're doing this game tonight. Okay, we have a brief run through of what it is, and then away you go. And it does feel like you're flying by the seat of your pants at times. Anyway, so your work with Emma, did you put together the format yourself? Is it something that you kind of developed over time? Did you have anybody come in and kind of go, oh, have you thought about this, that, and the other? Just interested in what's your sort of favorite games that you play? Who are the go-to teams that you enjoy in terms of short formers? There's a whole load of questions all bundled into one. Apologies.
I think a lot of the games are kind of a bit of a mix of like classic games that we've kind of learned from Emma, and some games we've kind of maybe cherry picked ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So like, yeah, it's kind of mentioned puns. So we always like, we all start getting into we all like the puns, and now, and I think it's just the likes of those kind of games where like I'm probably one of the few who maybe isn't quick to get in with the puns, but I like, soon as you break that sort of, yeah, I'm just gonna go in, make a punt. Don't care if I make an absolute idiot.
Pig's ear of it.
As long as I've kind of got it, as long as for me, I've got in at some point, and I can go, okay, how can I develop my pun work? And a lot of it is listening to how Iain does it, and a few others, because Iain's a pro at puns, or what one of the pros. And so I just kind of listen to how like everyone else, those who are like usually stronger at it.
Mm.
That's how I kind of think, okay, if I just pick up on a few, try and pick up on a few like sort of key things about how a pun works, and then I feel then I can get in myself with a few.
So, what's the favorite game that you? What's your favorite game to play, Dave?
Favorite game. I mean, I probably like things like actors, sort of like an actor's nightmare one. So it's kind of like where, I'm maybe reading from a book, taking lines out, sort of throwing, because I'm listening into who I'm working with, who maybe has all the words, and I think, okay, I'm flicking through the books, thinking, okay, just trying to sort of pick out a line. I think, oh, that'll work there, and then um, I tend to actually go for maybe also physical type games like domestic Olympics. So that's kind of, they're the kind of games for me that probably stand out for me more. The kind of any sort of physicality character based games like the domestic Olympics, anything like Actor's Nightmare, something like that for me are probably ideally for me personal favourites.
So the second part of the question, Ian, was around: are there any short form teams that you really like? Who's your go-to team that you've seen that you really kind of go, oh yeah, they're really good?
To be honest, I don't really see any short form teams anywhere. Everywhere I go to see improv, it seems to be either mid to long form. It's very rare that I encounter short form teams. Any festivals or live shows I've been to, they tend to always be anything but short form. So yeah, I don't really see many. I'm fortunate that I'm involved in lots of short form things. So most of the things I do, I'm seeing short form people. So I just get to enjoy people regularly. So the Oickers I get to enjoy regularly. I get to enjoy the members of Flinch Your Funny Bone regularly. I get to enjoy the members of Glossop Improv online regularly. And if ever I get to LCI stuff or Glossop Improv in person, I get to enjoy them. So they're they're the experiences I have really of short form teams or people doing it. Because anytime I go anywhere, I don't seem to encounter short form.
Okay, maybe there's a time to be it to be reclaimed in some way, shape, or form for future improv festivals. Because I think a good short form team absolutely clean up. I think it's a great product in terms of it's you do a game, and if it doesn't go well, it's finished with you move on to the next one. So really it's like a stand-up. If a gag doesn't land, you just move on to the next one quite quickly. So it's good in that way.
Yeah. And it's a real art form to get in that to be a slick show where,
Yeah.
okay, I know this game's got 5 minutes. It has to have the introduction, the ask fors, and the game itself come to a conclusion within that time slot. And then you've got to get straight into the next game. And it's all got to flow in a way that a long form set doesn't need that pressure as much because you're like, oh, I know I've got 25 minutes to just make this happen. Whereas there's lots of little stopping points in short form where you're like, right, we've got this set and we need to make sure it is slick.
Yeah. Well, it's like like I use the band analogy. It's like working out your set list and kind of where do you want it to arc to take people up to then bring them down again, to then bring them back up. There is definitely a skill in terms of that composition of what goes in what order, and the response that you're hoping to get from the audience as a result. I don't know. Think about. Some people are big readers. I've got into that more and more and more. I also like listening to podcasts. So, is there anything that's a kind of go-to for either of you in terms of? Obviously, it was the anniversary of Keith Johnson's death today, 1 year passing. So, Keith's book is one of those that I always sort of return to. I kind of want to dip back in and I kind of get, and there's a load of others. There's Katie Shoots because I've got into long form and various other bits and bobs. But is there anything that you kind of dip into or listen to that you might kind of share with folk What's your go-to?
For me, I also listen as regularly as I can the Liverpool Comedy Improvcast.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, through Spotify. That's the main platform that I listen to it on.
Mm.
Um, and it's great for me. It's great listening to everyone else who has been impacted through, you know, where I should say where improv has impacted their lives in a very positive way, and how how the doing all sorts of courses and things like that. I'd probably say, but in terms of books, I've got one which is Comedy and Improvisation Exercises and Techniques for Young Actors by Delton T. Horn. Pretty much he goes through like sort of starting off with any sort of like the basic how you do improv. We do it in everyday life, and goes through like how you can develop character, simple structures, characters, you know, character based stuff. And then obviously like how you put on a show, how you work within a group and stuff like that. And um yeah, it's what I've been it's this book here. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be on visual on the video side of things, but it's a great book that I'm trying to immerse myself in. And
Brilliant. I think I've seen that before, but I've never read it, so I shall go and purchase it. Ian, how about you? Podcast, film, book, comic
Yeah,
book?
I don't really learn too much from reading books in terms of improv. If I have time to read, then it tends to be comics or um or just yeah, just things more for fun rather than for learning. But I do read a lot of blogs generally when it comes to improv and techniques. One of the things I read a lot about is just I'm always trying to find new games um because I co-run stuff for Glossop Improv Online, and I co-run stuff for Flinch and Funny Bone, and at Oickers we're always looking to bring new games as well. One thing I'm always trying to do is just search around for new games, new games, new games. What can we do that's new that we haven't done? In terms of podcasting, because I do so much podcasting, I don't get that much chance to listen to other things. But every now and again, someone might say, "Oh, there's a great improv podcast thing there," so I'll go on and listen to recommendations. Like Chris Mead has a great newsletter, so I tend to read his newsletter, which will pinpoint me towards things. And yeah, just lots of blogs also help me when I'm looking for new games. That tends to be the thing I want to know more about with improv. Just more opportunities to try new things.
Yeah. Okay, fabulous. So our final question for this evening is next year, uh, you are guest curator of LiF 2025. Fingers crossed. You never know. And money's no object. You can bring over a teacher uh, and a show, and that can be one that is currently running or one from the past. So thinking about who might you invite for LiF 2025?
probably someone who we've had works someone we're having a workshop with during both online and in person, Brian Palermo. Because yeah, I mean, the first time I think both me and Ian encountered him was online through Emma, and again when he was able to come over, he happened to be in Liverpool for like I think a day or something like that, and he was doing managed to get a workshop with I think it was a 2-3 hour workshop with him. Maybe try and see about getting Brian back over.
Okay. And Ian, how about you?
Okay. In terms of running a workshop, I would absolutely love to take a workshop with Laura Hall, who I had the pleasure of interviewing on the Liverpool Comedy Improvcast, and she was absolutely delightful. And I know that she is around and touring and stuff. She's been in Scotland recently, so yeah, if she was to come to Liverpool, that would be amazing. In terms of putting on like a show, who would I love to see perform? I would just love to see some of my favorites from Who's Line. But when I thought about this, I was like, okay, if I had to pick 4 people that I wanted to see in like a Whose Lines It Anyway style lineup, I would love to see Ryan and Colin, because they are just the absolute greatest, Josie Lawrence, and I would love to throw in Rachel Paris as well as like another great musical one to put in there. If those 4 were doing something and Laura Hall was on a piano, that would be the dream, I think.
Okay, we'll make that happen for you next year, Ian. If only. Okay, so thank you so much. That was an absolutely a delightful, just a delightful 45 minutes spent in your company. So thank you so much. Really look forward to hosting you and the rest of the Oickers. And I'm going to enjoy having one of my 5 a day as a fruit smoothie.
Well, we're very excited, so thank you very much.